Good morning and welcome to the Estuary Church Group Thought for the Day. My name is Dave Redbond and it's my opportunity and privilege to bring you the thought for today, which I've entitled Muddy Marks. Maureen appeared at my study door with a request. Let me see the bottom of your slippers. I had no idea why she would want to inspect my slippers, but took them off and turned them over so we both could see the soles of the slippers. It was then that I realized I was likely to be in trouble. Stuck to the bottom of my slippers was a large clod of mud. Have you seen what you have done to the kitchen floor that I cleaned yesterday? Was the question that came from Maureen, followed up by a command. Come and look at what you've done to my floor. I went to see what had happened, and sure enough, all through the kitchen and down our hall, there were large muddy marks that had been left by me as I journeyed from the back door to my study. Needless to say, Maureen was not impressed, which is understandable, and I had some cleaning up to do. This experience got me thinking about what verses are in the Bible which mention mud. And one of the most well known is Psalm 40 verse 1, which says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. I'd not realized that when I'd gone into the garden that I'd stood on a muddy patch and as a result carried the mud into the house and left dirty marks where I'd walked. It is like that as we walk through life. There are times when our lives are impacted by things we do or hear or say, which like the mud cling to us and leave a mark as we continue on our journey. These things can rob us of our joy, destroy our peace, and silence our song of praise. They not only can give a negative impact upon us, but also those who we meet with. I'm also reminded of another incident which took place recently and which involved mud. My brother wanted to take his grandson, who would be my nephew, fishing, and asked me if I could arrange for a trip to the fishing lake, which I was more than happy to do. We arrived at the lake and started fishing, and as this was the first time that my nephew had been fishing, I was seeking to give help and guidance. It was great when he caught his first fish and a photo was taken. As time went on, more fish were caught and everyone was enjoying themselves. I'm still not sure how it happened, but I went to help my nephew and brother unravel a tangled fishing line when I stood on a slippery, muddy patch, at which point my foot slid down the bank into the water and carried on sliding until my boot was underwater and was filling up. I spent the rest of our fishing session with a soggy sock and wet boot, and there was a squelching sound when I walked around. It was not very comfortable, to say the least. This again reminds me how we can so easily slip up as we journey through life. David, who wrote this psalm, understood the reality of that when he let God down when he committed adultery and murder. I recognize in my own life the many times that I have slipped up and let God down, but that is not the end of the story. David reveals in this psalm how God responds when we end up in the mud and mire. The first thing is he comes. It says in this psalm that as we cry out, God turns towards us. See, rather than give up on us when we fail, David says that God turns towards us and hears us as we cry out. It is so easy for us to be falling into the trap that when we are in the mire, that means that God won't want anything to do with us. But the reality is exactly the opposite of that. It's in those times when we're in the mire that God responds in a loving and caring way. He hears our cry and he comes to us because he has listened to us. And if you are in that difficult place where you don't think God is listening and you don't think that God is caring, I want you to know that that is absolutely the opposite. No matter what you've done, God is there for you. Secondly, the psalmist says that he catches us. See, it says that he comes and lifts us up. When I was slipping, I needed someone to reach out and catch me and lift me up. This is what David says God does. When we fall down, he catches hold of us and lifts us up. If right now you've fallen in some way, if you are in the mire, then take heart in that God will come and lift you up and lift you out of the difficulties and the circumstances and the troubles that you are experiencing and are facing. And if indeed you have done something wrong, then as you ask God to forgive you and to help you, he will be there to catch hold of you and to enable you to know that he can lift you up and restore you and bless you as he forgives you. Because the third thing that we discover is that he is committed to us. See, the psalmist says that God takes hold of us and is committed to placing us on a secure ground, a firm foundation. And along with that, he's committed to giving us a new song. See, I know that when I'm in the mire, the last thing that I want to do is to sing. The last thing I want to do is to come into the God's presence. The last thing I want to do is to bring praise to him. And I need to say that if you have lost your song because of the circumstances in which you find yourself, and because of the sense of failure that maybe you are feeling, if you find it's hard to be praising God at this point in time because of what you're going through or what is going on around you, then I want to encourage you. He is committed to restoring you so that the circumstances of life do not shake you, but they fashion you, and that you will be taken out of that sense of feeling that you are in a place where everything around you just seems to be uncertain and insecure, to a place where you have that sense that you know that you're standing on something firm and strong, and along with that, that you have a song that's been implanted in your life that brings praise and honor to God. You see, in conclusion, the psalmist states that as a result of God lifting us out of the mud and mire and placing us on a sure footing and giving us a new song, it is that will impact those around us as they see the way in which God is working in our lives, and that they will want to discover what it is that we've found that enables us to know that sense of security and confidence in God. So if you've been leaving muddy marks because of where you have walked and because of what you have been going through, take heart, because as you cry to Father God, he will come and he will catch hold of you, because he is committed to you and committed to placing you on a sure footing, on a firm foundation, so that even in the midst of the difficulties and even out of the difficulties that you are experiencing, you will not only end up praising him as he gives you a new song, but you will end up becoming a blessing to others, and they will begin to realize that there is a God who not only cares for you and is committed to you, but there is a God who cares for them and is committed to them as well. May God bless you in your day and in the week that lies ahead.